Hello, welcome to the School of Dentistry's summer celebration of donors. My name is Nikki Black, and I will be your moderator for this evening. We are recording this evening's session and will make it available for later viewing in a couple of days. We're so glad that you can join us for this virtual event, and we look forward to seeing all of you in person one day very soon. Our program tonight features Raptors of the Midwest with guest Anna from the University of Minnesota's Raptor Center. We encourage you to submit questions for the Raptor Center guest using the Q&A button at the very bottom of your screen. Later, you will also hear from Dr. Keith Mays. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Anna from the Raptor Center. So Anna can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Nikki, and thank you for having us, and thank you guys all for joining us this evening. My name is Anna, and I'm over here at the Raptor Center on the University of Minnesota St. Paul campus with my friend here, Rowan. Rowan is one of our resident birds here at the Raptor Center. She is a red-tailed hawk, got that nice red tail back here, and we will chat about her a little bit more in just a second. But first, I wanted to let you guys know a little bit more about the Raptor Center, who we are, and what we do. So we are mainly a hospital for raptors, for birds like Rowan here. The kind of 5 main groups of raptors that we will see in this area are going to be owls, hawks, eagles, falcons, and vultures. So those are the most common raptors we'll see around here in Minnesota in the Midwest. There are definitely more than just those 5, but those are the ones we'll see in the hospital most often. So if you're ever out for a walk, out for a drive, you see a bird like one of those that's sick or injured or looks like it might need some assistance, you can go ahead and give us a call at the Raptor Center, look us up, and we can help get that bird into our hospital. On an average year, we get over 1,000 birds in through the hospital, and most of those birds are going to be released back into the wild once their injury has healed. Oh, very nice, Rowan. She's getting nice and comfy, fluffing out her feathers, fixing them up back into place, making sure she looks all nice for you guys this evening. Now, Rowan here is one of our exceptions to that. So every once in a while, we will get a bird that comes into the hospital with some sort of injury that we can't fix, something they're always going to need a little bit of help with. So Rowan here, for example, is blind in one of her eyes. She's actually blind in her right eye. If we take a look at her as she looks around the room here nice and close, you will actually see that her right eye is smaller than her left. Now she's probably going to keep that left eye facing you guys most of the time, because again, that's the one she can see out of, stretching out her wings, but you can see kind of that size difference in her eyes there. So because of that blindness, and because that's not something we can fix, she's not a very effective hunter. She was actually found by someone after she had not been able to catch food in a while, was very weak, very skinny, all on her own out in the wild, and was brought into our hospital. So instead of releasing her back into the wild, we help her out, provide food for her, make sure she doesn't have to hunt. And she helps us out by letting us learn more about birds like her, so we can give folks a nice closer look at an animal that normally you'd see off in the distance in the wild. So she, as one of those injured birds, is a member of our education team here, and we're going to meet 3 more birds besides her this evening that are members of our education team here that help us to teach people about the amazing birds that they are. So like I said, Rowan here in particular is a red-tailed hawk. I love sharing red-tailed hawks with people because they are a super common raptor. They are found all over North America, and they are highly adaptable, able to live in many different places and eat many different types of food. So she will live, when she's looking for places to live, she's looking for something nice and tall to sit on and a big open space to look out over. So kind of their natural habitat is edge habitat. So where like a forest meets a prairie, you got those nice tall trees, that big open space makes it easier for her to look around a lot of area for food without having to spend a lot of energy on flying by sitting in somewhere nice and tall. Now, just kind of by pure coincidence, we happen to also like a lot of places that she might like to hang out. So if you think about some places that people like to hang out, like backyards, parks, playgrounds, all tend to have big open spaces, tall trees at the sides. And another place that they like to hang out is sitting on light poles by the side of the road. Same thing, road gives that big open space. Light poles give you something nice and tall to sit on. So just driving around today on my way here to work, I saw 5 red-tailed hawks just today. So if you keep your eyes peeled, these are a super easy bird for you to find out in the wild in this area, which is really wonderful. Now, you may even find a red-tailed hawk that does not have a red tail. These birds actually start off, their first year tail is all brown, kind of black and brown striped, and it isn't until their second year that they get this nice red tail in. So very possible for you to see a bird that looks a lot like this one here, but does not have the red tail and can still be a red-tailed hawk. Now, besides having her own lovely red tail features, she has some features that she shares with all other raptors, kind of groups them together, and it is all about helping them to hunt. So all of our raptors are birds of prey. They are meat eaters. These guys are never eating bird seed, no fruits, no berries, nothing like that, only other animals. But just because a bird is a meat eater, is eating meat, does not necessarily make them a raptor. It's kind of all about how you catch that food. So 2 examples that I love to use are local examples, birds like bald eagles and great blue herons. Both of those birds eat fish, but the difference is in how they catch it. So the heron uses its beak. It's not a raptor. The eagle is going to use its feet. So our raptors have these strong, sharp claws called talons. That is really what makes them special. The word raptor comes from an old Latin word that means to grab or to grasp. So they are named for these grasping feet that they have, and can use to swoop down and catch their prey. So when she's sitting on top of those tall light poles, and she'll swoop down and use her feet to grab onto that prey. She is looking for many different types of things to eat. Animals that will range from mice, squirrels, rabbits. She'll eat other birds if she can catch them. She'll eat bats if she can catch them. She eats snakes or lizards if she can catch them. So there's a whole variety of animals that she would like to eat, and she'll use her feet to catch them all. Now, if we take a look at her head here, she shows off her beautiful wings for us. If we take a look at her head here, you'll see she's got that nice curved beak. So that curved beak is very characteristic of raptors. It's curved, it points down. And these guys don't need you guys as much over at the School of Dentistry because they do not have any teeth, so she can't chew her food. So they've got to swallow everything whole, certainly a little bit different from us. So if this bird were to catch something like a mouse, she could swallow that all in one big gulp. If she were to catch something bigger, like say a rabbit, she would use her feet like that built-in fork to stand on that rabbit, and her beak is like her built-in knife to tear it off into lots of little pieces. The other thing we'll take a look at are her eyes. She has very large eyes, well, one that is normal sized at least, compared to the rest of her head, that are like her built-in binoculars. So when she is sitting up on that tall tree, sitting up on that light pole or soaring in the sky, she can look down to the ground and see her prey in full detail, see those mice running down on the ground, and be able to see them with enough detail that she can swoop down and catch them. All of our raptors do have eyes that face forwards. They're pretty far forwards on their head compared to other birds. Does have that big beak in the way, but if we kind of stare her down the beak, she'll kind of look right back at you. Those forward-facing eyes help to give good depth perception as well. So again, really important for being able to tell how far away something is from you, which is really important if you're trying to catch something. So that is one of the reasons why it's so important that she does stay with us of being blind in that eye. It has a significant effect on one of the main characteristics that make raptors really special and really effective predators. So we are going to meet raptors kind of all different shapes and sizes here today, but they will be they're all going to share at least those 3 characteristics in common: the strong, sharp talons, that nice curved beak, and those big forward-facing eyes. So we are going to pop Rowan back in her crate here, and we are going to get out our next bird to share with you. Going to be very different from this one here, but both still raptors. So it'll be just a second here. I've got to pop her back in her crate and grab food for our next bird, since they don't like to share very much. So we'll be 1 second and we'll be right back with the next bird. So as we swap around here, we're just swapping around our types of food as well. We're going a little bit smaller, so a little bit smaller food. Okay, bring her nice and close to you guys. This is our next bird. This is another one of my favorites to share, because a lot of people have never seen this bird before. She is an American kestrel, which is a type of falcon. They are the smallest falcons in North America, so she is fully grown. She won't get any larger than this. But she is very fast. So falcons are built for speed. Out of the birds we'll meet here today, she is going to be the fastest. Her bigger cousins, the peregrine falcons, are the fastest animals on the planet. They can go over 200 miles per hour in their dive. Now, as a smaller falcon, our kestrel here can't go quite that fast, but she can still get going probably over 80 or 90 miles per hour at her fastest speed in that dive. And they are built for speed so that they can chase down and catch other flying animals. So falcons are really known for their ability to hunt and catch other birds, and she will certainly do that for sure. However, since she is so small, they kind of expanded their diet out a little bit on our smaller falcons like these kestrels. She will also go for some small mammals like mice, and she will also go for large insects like dragonflies, moths, or butterflies. She really likes to live in the prairie. She's much more specific about her habitat that she's looking for than our red-tailed hawk. So she really likes those open prairies. I usually see them hanging out by farm fields. It's a really good place to look for your kestrels. And they can hover kind of like a kite on the breeze. So she'll spread her wings really wide, hover over that field, and once she spots her prey, tuck her wings in and dive down to catch it. And that's where they reach those fast speeds in that dive. She has all the same characteristics as the larger raptors, just in miniature form. So she's got those strong, sharp talons. She's got that nice curved beak, and she has those big forward-facing eyes. Nice job showing off your eyes there. So she will be definitely a very effective predator of those small flying animals. As a falcon, she does have some special characteristics of her own that will kind of distinguish her as a member of the falcon group. These dark stripes kind of underneath her eyes help to keep the sun out of her eyes. So all falcons will have some form of that dark striping underneath their eyes. It's like they're built-in sunglasses. You might notice something similar, football players or baseball players that put the black lines on underneath their eyes, kind of copying from this bird here. She also has, if you look really closely in her nostrils as she turns her head around, there's a little yellow dot inside of her nostrils that helps her to breathe at high speeds. It's not a booger, it's supposed to be there, it's part of her beak, and it just helps her to breathe. We'll use the same thing. If you look at the jet engine on an airplane, you'll see that circular jet engine, that cone in the center helps to break up the air, let fast moving air move more freely through that object so that the engine functions, or in her case, again, she can continue to breathe. She has very long toes as well. That's very characteristic of falcons, even though she is small. If you kind of blew up her feet to make them the same size as our red-tailed hawks, her toes would be much longer, and that will help her to actually reach through the feathers of her prey. Birds are mostly feathers. Actually, she's about half feathers. So if we took all of her feathers away, she'd be about half as big. And so she wants those extra long toes, people to reach under those feathers, make sure she's actually grabbing the body of her prey and not coming away with just a fistful of feathers. Now, I'm going to see if she wants to work on a little piece of food here so she can demonstrate how raptors eat. We'll put it down here for her so she can see if she is interested in having some dinner. So she'll demonstrate how she'll hold onto that with her feet and use her beak to rip it apart. She's just checking me out, making sure I'm not gonna steal her food from her. She recognizes me as another predator, another animal that likes to eat chicken, which she has today. And so she's gonna make sure I'm not gonna steal it from her and then start working on it for herself. Now it definitely would not be hunting a chicken out in the wild, but certainly she would hunt other birds. And so chicken is a type of bird that is easy for us to get here at the Raptor Center for us to feed to our birds. Now her chicken though is raw, it is not cooked. She's going to be eating all of the feathers. She's going to be eating the bones, brains, eyeballs, every part of the animal really. And that's very important for her to kind of get all of her food groups, kind of stay strong and healthy to eat every part of the animal. Another very interesting thing about our kestrels is they are one of very few raptors that we can very easily tell the difference between our males and our females. There she goes, demonstrating her ability to rip her food into littler pieces. But I can tell you for sure that we have a female kestrel right here. She's got that black and brown striping on her wings, kind of a tannish color here on her chest, that nice red patch on the top of her head. That is very characteristic of our female kestrels. The males are a little bit smaller and they have more of this kind of bluish gray color to them. Their wings are that bluish gray color. And then their chest is red with black spots. So we think that we see that color difference because these are such small raptors. The additional browns on the female will help her blend in better with her nest, whereas the more color on the male will make him stand out a little bit more to help find a mate. We also will see these kind of black dots on the back of the head of both the males and females. They're kind of like their eye spots. So not functional eyes, but they will kind of give the impression of eyes to other predators. Because there are certainly other animals, definitely other raptors even, that would like to eat a kestrel. So those eye spots will kind of help to protect her, make it look like she is looking behind her. She's got eyes on the back of her head. Nothing can sneak up on her. One last thing to share about her. I always like to tell people to keep an eye out for these guys, especially if you're out by farm fields. Really good place to look for them. But they are migratory. So out of our birds we're going to meet here today, she would be the only one that you have a limited time to see them. So just here during the spring and the summer. Then in the fall, they're going to start working their way down south for the winter. They'll fly south in order to keep catching enough food. Don't see a lot of dragonflies or other birds here during the winter time. So if they were to stay, there would not be enough food for them to eat. And then they'll fly north again, starting in the springtime. They'll come up here to nest and raise their young. So if you are in a good area, you got some fields nearby and you would like to see some kestrels, you haven't seen any, you can put up a nest box for them. They will definitely use those nest boxes and it'll be a great way to see raptors in your area. Can also be some good pest control. If you've got mice, great spot for them to be. Just don't also poison the mice, otherwise you'll work that up to our kestrels, but they will definitely help out with that. All right, so we're gonna put her back in the crate, get out our next bird, let her finish her dinner, and we'll go a bit bigger again this time. Okay, I'm just gonna swap around gloves and food. All right, so this is our next bird, one of the crowd pleasers for sure. This is our great horned owl. She is gonna make some little noises here as we get some food ready for her. Once she looks away, we'll give her a nice little piece of food. She's very interested. She's always looking over where the food is. Here we go. Some nice little pieces of food today. She is getting some little bits of mouse. As a great horned owl, she is built for stealth, a stealth predator. Unlike our kestrel, our falcons, they're built for speed. This bird is much slower, the slowest out of our set we're meeting today, but definitely the sneakiest. So she is built to hunt in low light. Great horned owls actually are not fully nocturnal. She's not hunting in the middle of the night. Instead, she's what's known as crepuscular, which means she likes dawn and dusk. That's really when she's looking to find her prey with a little bit of light, not quite the middle of the night. And so she has this beautiful coloration on her feathers. That beautiful pattern helps her to look like the bark on a tree, kind of blend in with her surroundings, and wait for food to come to her. So she'll sit in that tree. She's got these absolutely massive eyes to help let in extra light. They are so big that that if you had eyes like an owl's, they would have to be the size of oranges to take up the same amount of space in your skull. They're so big that she doesn't actually have room for muscles to be able to move her eyes in her skull. So her eyes are totally stationary. So if she wants to look at something, she has to turn her head to do it, doing a very good demonstration of it right now. So she's got extra neck bones. We have 7 bones in our neck. She has 14 in hers, twice as long. Her feathers really kind of hide what's going on with her skeleton underneath, but her neck actually makes an S shape under all those feathers. If she's turning her head, she can go over one shoulder, then she could keep going to look all the way behind her. Then she could keep going to look over her other shoulder. And she could do that in either direction. So not quite a full circle, but she can get pretty close. She could also go fully upside down with her head, just kind of all the way upside down, just with her head. And that all is going to help her to find that prey with those big yellow eyes. She only needs the light of the stars to be able to find that prey. However, she is trying to be really sneaky, really stealthy. She's all about her camouflage, blending into those trees. And I don't know about you, but I have never seen a tree with big yellow eyes before. So if something's gonna give her away, it's gonna be those eyes, make her easier to spot. So if she's trying to be her most sneaky, her most stealthy, she will close her eyes, maybe peek out a little bit, and really rely on her hearing, on her ears. Now, these feathers up here, her feather tufts, they're often mistaken for her ears, but they are not actually ears. They're just feathers. They just help her with her camouflage. Her actual ears are holes in the side of her head. See these black lines of feathers down the side of her face? If you could peek underneath those black feathers, you would see her ears. The roundness of her face, the roundness of all owl faces helps to pull that sound towards her ears, kind of like a satellite dish, helps direct the sound towards her ears. She can actually control all the feathers in her facial disc, that disc of feathers, to better help direct that sound. And it's kind of like if you're trying to listen closely to something and tuck your hands behind your ears to listen a little bit better. That is just how her head is built all the time. Her ears are actually slightly off center from each other. So one is slightly higher than the other. And that also helps her to pinpoint the exact location of her prey when she's listening for it. Those ears are so big and her eyes are so big that if you could peek into those ears, you would actually see the back of her eyes through her ears. So when our veterinarians, if they need to do eye surgery on owls, they will often go in through the ears to get to the eyes to do that surgery. So those senses are really important. Her hearing is so important. She is so good as well that she could hear my heartbeat right now. She could hear well enough to hear mice moving underneath the snow in the wintertime with enough accuracy to catch them, even if they're under a foot of snow, she could still catch them. So they're very, very important senses for her, both her eyesight and her hearing. There's a little bit of a trade-off though, something she's not quite as good at. So she has a terrible sense of smell. can't smell anything, but that she's also managed to turn into her own advantage because it's opened up another type of prey for her. She will absolutely catch and eat a skunk for sure. Doesn't matter if they get sprayed because they can't smell it at all. So she will eat many different animals, skunks, squirrels, rabbits, other birds, all kinds of different animals if she can catch them. But she's very stealthy to do that. So when she does hear them or spot one and she swoops down to catch it, her flight is silent. She has some of the softest, most flexible feathers out of all of our birds. There's a little actual fringed edge to her feathers. It looks like she's got little eyelashes on the edge of her wings to help her move through the air silently. She also has feathers on her toes that help with that as well. They also help to protect her toes from her prey as she grabs them. As she's standing here, you may also notice that she stands a little bit differently from our other raptors. So our other raptors that we're meeting today stand 3 toes forward, 1 toe backwards. She stands 2 toes forward, 2 toes backwards. That's another good characteristic of our owls. Their feet are called zygodactyl feet. So that's that 2 forward, 2 backwards, but it also means that she can move her outside back toe, this one way back here. It can come forward if she needs to. So they'll often, when they're hunting and catching their prey, they'll grab with those 3 toes forward, 1 toe backwards. And then when they stand in perch, they'll stand 2 and 2. And that helps give them some better balance. We're going to give her another piece of her mouse here today. She's doing such a good job. She's so excited for it. You can see as she moves those wings, it's quite quiet. And we're going to give her piece of food. Now you might notice our great horned owl here is making some little noises as she's sitting here, and especially when she's getting her pieces of food. And that is not typical great horned owl behavior. You can imagine if they're trying to be quite sneaky and sneak up on their prey, that's gonna kind of give you away if you're making those little noises. So those noises she's making are actually little kind of baby noises or communication between baby and adult owls that she still makes as an adult. She is definitely not a baby. She is in her 20s, but she is getting, it kind of relates to her story of how she ended up here with us. So Lois here, our great horned owl, is not physically injured in the way some of our other birds are. Instead, she is more of a mental injury. So she was raised by a person instead of by other owls. And so she kind of missed her chance to learn how to be an owl. And it was by someone who meant very well in trying to help her after they found her on the ground. She had fallen out of her nest, but that is not the best way to go about it. So she continues to make these little noises because she thinks it will get her food. It is not the thing that gets her food, but she will try it all the same. But we always like to mention her story because especially now in the spring and the summer, it is very important if you find an injured animal or an animal that you think might need some assistance or might need some help, especially if it is a baby animal, it is very important to call us here at the Raptor Center, call another wildlife organization such as the Wildlife Rehab Center in Roseville, and see and contact us first to see what the best thing to do is. Great horned owls are one of the most common calls we get, but we're getting tons of calls about all types of raptor babies and baby animals in general as they're kind of exploring and going off on their own this summer for the first time. We actually have a team of volunteer tree climbers that go out, climb trees, and put baby birds back up in nests if need be. We will even build them a new nest if the whole nest fell down. However, sometimes those baby birds are just practicing how to fly. And so if we send people out to put them back up in their nest, they're going to jump right back out again, like just a minute later, to start building that strength and jumping from branch to branch to learn how to fly again. So sometimes genuinely the best thing to do with those baby animals is to just give them some space and leave them be. But if there's ever any question, we are happy to help. Send us some pictures, give us a call, and we can give you a good advice on what the best move is here. So we can avoid having perfectly healthy owls like Lois here end up back in the wild or end up in captivity. All right, I'm gonna give her one more piece of her mouse since she is doing so good. Got a nice mouse tail here for her, so she can show you how she'll swallow that. Again, nice demonstration of her wonderful wings there. And we will give her her mouse. Nice job, Lois, swallowing that last little bit of mouse there. All right, if you do want to see great horned owls out in the wild, they are hard to spot because of their camouflage and because they are mostly active when we're kind of heading in for the night. But they are actually a very common raptor, about as common as our red-tailed hawks. And so nighttime is a great time around dusk to try to look for them. But a great option to look for them is to listen for their hoots and also to look for other birds. Other birds do not like great horned owls in the area, especially birds like crows or blue jays, because they will certainly eat crows and blue jays. And so the crows and blue jays, if they notice a great horned owl in their area, they will get together a big group of other birds and basically start trying to annoy the owl into leaving. So those other birds will start dive bombing it, they'll start yelling at it, all they can do as a big group to kind of get that owl to leave. So if you're ever out for a walk, especially around dawn or dusk, and see a bunch of crows yelling at a tree, you might want to take a nice close look at that tree because there might be a great horned owl in there. All right, we are going to put our owl back and get out our last bird of the evening so we can meet them. And then after that bird, we will have that Q&A. Do remember to submit your questions through the Q&A feature, and we'll have that with you. All right, our last bird is the biggest for the evening. So just 1 second, I'll be off screen over here, getting him ready to say hello. All right, here he is, our last bird for the evening. Very tall and impressive. This is our bald eagle. Now, these are a wonderful bird to share because they are a great conservation success story. For a long time, bald eagles were very endangered. It used to be very difficult to see one in the wild. And that was mainly due to something that we caused. So it was due to a chemical called DDT, had a large effect on these birds. It was a chemical pesticide sprayed on plants, sprayed on crops. It would then kill the bugs, and then bugs would wash into the rivers, fish would eat the bugs, eagles would eat the fish, and that chemical would work its way into the eagle's body. He's checking out to see if I have any food for him. He already got all of his for today, but he is doing a great job of showing off his wings as well. That wingspan's over 5.5 feet long, over 6 feet long, and gives them that nice ability to soar. But that chemical DDT would work their way into those adult eagle bodies, and it wouldn't do too much to affect an adult bald eagle on its own, probably continue to live out its normal lifespan. But what it would do is it would really affect their ability to lay eggs. So when it came time to lay eggs, it affected their calcium production, and their eggshells would be so thin that they would break their own eggs just by sitting on them. So we were not seeing a lot of baby bald eagles being born. It has taken a lot of hard work to protect these birds, to protect their habitat, but that has paid off. We have been seeing a great rise in their numbers. They were taken off of the endangered species list in 2007, and we currently go back and forth between Minnesota and Wisconsin for having the second most bald eagles in the United States. We're behind Alaska, but they've got the ocean, but Minnesota and Wisconsin usually go back and forth between second and third for most bald eagles. We have all of those wonderful lakes and rivers, which gives them a great habitat, great place to find their favorite food, which is fish. If he could eat nothing but fish, he would. Fish is his absolute favorite, but fishing is hard, and he only has his feet. They're not even a diving bird. He's not going to dive into the water to catch it. They're looking for fish close to the surface where they can just reach their feet in and grab those fish off the surface of the water. And so sometimes they miss. And so he is what's considered an opportunistic predator. So whatever's going to be the easiest meal for him to find, that's going to be what he goes for. So if he can't get those fish, he will certainly look for animals like squirrels, rabbits as well. And they will also scavenge. So if he found something like a dead deer, they would certainly eat that as well. That's a free, huge meal that they didn't really have to put any hard work into. So we'll go for quite a few different options. However, definitely not going to hunt a deer on his own. That's way too big. He is definitely going to be limited by his size. So he is a large bird. Bald eagles are a very large bird, especially for the area. However, he's not as heavy as you might think. So he at his maximum will weigh about 8 to 9 pounds. So 9 pounds maximum for him. A female in the area, they're a little bit larger, maybe 10 to 11 pounds is what we're looking at. So about as much as a gallon of milk. And so they can only carry about half their body weight. So when they are hunting, if they've caught something and are flying away with it, it can only be about 4 to 5 pounds. That would be like the max size of something they're looking to fly away with. If you see an eagle with something bigger, like on a dead deer, it is almost definitely something that they found on their own. Now, our eagle here today is very food motivated, and the food usually comes from this hand over here. So when I move this hand around, a lot of times he just reaches over for it, see if he can grab some food. Doing a great job, again, of demonstrating his wings. Now they are really easy to spot, especially during the summer with us all hanging out and hopefully near some lakes and rivers. Get a nice chance to do that. You'll see these guys, their white heads and tails make them really easy to identify. Most people will recognize them when they see them. And that nice yellow beak. However, they do not always look this way. For about their first 5 years of life, these birds are all brown. Brown head, brown tail, brown beak, brown eyes. And then between 5 and 7 is when they get that white head and tail and their beak and eyes turn from brown to yellow. So if you are in Minnesota and you see an eagle that's all brown, you're almost definitely looking at a young bald eagle. They sometimes actually fairly often get mistaken for golden eagles. They can look very similar. And we do get golden eagles that come through here, but usually our golden eagles are kind of just passing through on their way to somewhere else, whereas we have quite a few bald eagles that live here all year round. So if you're making a bet on young bald eagle over golden eagle if you see one of those all brown eagles. Really cool when you can see them all together. As we kind of move into the wintertime can actually be a great time to see bald eagles as well, because again, they do want to be by open water. They love the open water. They love fish. And so as things freeze over, they will kind of start gathering where there's open water remaining. So if you have a nice spot of open water, some good eagle habitat, and as things get more and more frozen, you might see more and more eagles showing up. So if you want to see 100, 200, and 300 bald eagles all in close proximity, adults and juveniles together, sometimes the winter is a really good time to look for that. In the spring and the summer here, they're kind of establishing their territory and kind of by their nesting area with their large nests. But in that winter time, they'll kind of come under more of a truce, be much closer together, and just for access to that open water. Now their nests that you can see around, they're very large. The bald eagles hold the world record for the largest nest. That nest was down in Florida. It was over 10 feet wide, over 20 feet deep, weighed more than a car, and was so big that it actually broke the tree that it was in, which is the only reason it didn't get any bigger. So these birds will come back year after year to continue building their nest. Average eagle nests are a little bit smaller than that, but still at least 5 to 6 feet wide is what we typically see. And they have to be big because birds grow very quickly. So you'll have the parents on the nest, and then usually they have about 2 to 3 eggs every year. And those baby eagles are going to hatch out of the egg and grow to full size within a couple months. They have to be full size in order to learn how to fly. And so they will get to that full size very quickly. So you've got 5 fully grown eagles that need to fit into that nest. So they build those very large nests up in the trees. A lot of times they will build in dead trees or bare trees, which makes those nests even easier to spot as they are kind of on those bare trees and nearby to water, usually within a mile of water. So keep your eyes peeled as we look for our eagles this summer, as you're kind of having some nice times outside. So our eagle here, not super heavy, but he is getting a little bit heavy here. So I'm going to go over to put him back in his crate. And then I will turn it over to Nikki so that we can do our Q&A about our birds and us here at the Raptor Center. So I'll just be off screen getting him settled for just a second, and I'll be back for Q&A.
Hello, everyone. I just want to remind you, this is a great opportunity to put any questions that you may have under the Q&A button, which is at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I see we already have one question here, and I will wait until Anna comes back and we'll have her answer that.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, Anna, I've got a question here for you. It is, will raptors eat roadkill or do they prefer live prey?
Yeah, absolutely. So for most of the raptors that we saw today, definitely prefer live prey. Our eagle for sure would go for roadkill though. They are not as picky, and they are all kind of about the easiest meal, what makes things easy. And a lot of times that roadkill is a free, very large meal that they didn't have to put a lot of energy into doing. So definitely eagles would go for that roadkill, and then vultures as well. Vultures exclusively eat things that are already dead. So we've got a lot of turkey vultures in the area that would definitely go for that roadkill.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anna. Another question just came in. Can you tell us how old the raptors you have shown us tonight will live?
Yeah, absolutely. So our red-tailed hawk that we met this evening, she is currently 6 years old. In the wild, she would probably live to be maybe in her late teens, early 20s. However, at the Raptor Center, because we are providing all of her food and we provide medical care, we can really extend the lifespan of most of our raptors. So here at the Raptor Center, we would expect our red-tailed hawks to live into their 30s. Our kestrel that we met today, she is currently 7 years old. In the wild, she would live to be into her early to mid-teens, most likely. And here at the Raptor Center, we would expect to see her live into her early 20s. Our great horned owl, she is in her early 20s, and that is pretty old for a wild great horned owl, kind of the older end we would expect to see on a wild great horned owl. But here in captivity, we could expect to see her live into her 30s. And then our bald eagles in the wild, we expect them to live about 20 to 25 years. And then here at the Raptor Center, we could see them survive into their late 30s or their 40s even.
All right, a couple more questions here.
Yeah.
The first one is, when the eagles gather together in the winter over open water, do they build a new nest?
Great question. They do not build a new nest. So the nest for birds, and for most birds in general, is kind of purely for raising their young, raising babies, which they are not doing in the wintertime. They just not enough resources. It's much better be doing that in the spring and the summer. So they will not build a new nest in that area. If there is a nest in the area, somebody's territory in the winter or in the spring and summer, they might use it, but mostly you'll just see them like covering all of the branches of the trees in the area.
All right, this is very informative.
Yeah.
Another question just came in.
Sure.
What kind of accommodations do you have for the raptors when they are not needing to be in their crates?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually just go show you. How about that? So I'm gonna grab you here and we are gonna go see our outdoor enclosures. And we would love to have you guys come and visit the enclosures yourselves. In the future here, we're hoping to be back open to the public in some capacity by early July over here on the St. Paul campus. So we'll just do a quick walk through here to this is our outdoor enclosures area here. So now we are a little bit different to a zoo because our birds are education animals that travel with us a lot. We got some peregrine falcons, some more red-tailed hawks. So these guys will frequently leave the Raptor Center. We travel to schools, parks, libraries, all kinds of places. And so they get a lot of additional enrichment from the traveling we do. And so unlike a zoo, we can have a little bit more utilitarian space to be able to get them in and out. And because they get that additional enrichment from traveling and seeing new spaces. This is kind of our outdoor space. We'd love to have you guys in to show more. You can look at our great horned owl, Samantha, here while we answer a few more questions for you, if you've got them.
Yes, if there's any last questions, now is the time to put it under the Q&A button. We'll give it here just a couple moments, Anna.
Of course, absolutely.
Just a quick one here. It was about the American kestrel.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that they fly south in the winter, you know, like a lot of birds do. Do you happen to know how far south they go?
They will go as far south as Mexico.
Okay.
If they need to. Got one in here, trying to focus on him. This is one of our male kestrels. So he looks a little bit different to our female. All right.
Okay, great. I don't see any last questions here, Anna.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having us, and thank you for your donations to the School of Dentistry. I'm going to head out, get our birds back into their homes for the evening, but we'll keep it for you guys.
Anna, thank you so much for that very fun and highly informative presentation. I think enjoyed by all. Thank you so much.
Glad you guys enjoyed it. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Anna. And now it is my pleasure to introduce for the first time the School of Dentistry's 19th Dean, Dr. Keith Mays.
Well, thank you, Nikki. It's great to be have that official dean place before my name. I just wanted to thank everyone for being able to participate and join us this evening. It was very informative to hear about the Raptors. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Learned a few new things this evening. So I just want to thank you all for just taking some time out of your evening to join us. I also want to thank many of you have reached out and congratulated me. I just want to thank you for your support and all the kind words. And I want to just thank you for your support over the past year. It's been challenging for many of us on many fronts, and certainly the School of Dentistry faced many challenges as the entire world did during this past year. And you, our alumni and our donors, you were extremely generous, extremely helpful in your donations, your reaching out to us, your concern and your care, and just doing everything that you could possibly do this past year to support our students, either financially through your donations or even personally through conversations with them. And I'm sure that if they were here, they would be able to tell you that they all benefited by your kindness in a huge way. We also want to acknowledge this evening that this month we're closing the books on a 10-year driven campaign. Some of you have participated as committee members. Some of you have participated through your donations, and we want to thank you. The School of Dentistry had a great response and did well in the numbers that we were able to achieve through your donations. And so I just want to thank you for all your participation in that. I just want to remind you that your donations go a long way to touch the lives of our students, our faculty, our staff, and the members of our program, and our facilities, and most importantly, our patients. And so this past year, one of the things that we needed to do was a student emergency fund, and many of you donated to that, and it was tremendously important, especially during those early months when our students had to stay extra in the dorms or in their apartments, and needed additional monies for food that had not been accounted for through financial aid because of all the challenges and the changes in their schedule. So I do want to thank you for all of your support for our students at our school. And I want to thank, it's been our tradition for many years this evening. We're doing this virtually. It'll be really, really exciting when we can do it in person. I assume it's going to be next year that we'll be able to be in person, but we normally take this time to recognize our donors who have joined the President's Club, a giving circle recognized at the highest level of the university. And since the pandemic precluded us from having this event last year, I'd like to recognize donors from both the 2020 and the 21 years. And the new President Club members are Mrs. Judith Beckman, Dr. James Price, Dr. Diane Rico. And I want to thank you all for joining the President's Club, your support for the school, your love for the school. These donations tremendously impact the things that we are able to do. And so I'm really, really grateful, speaking on behalf of everyone in the school, and thank you that. And once again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us virtually tonight. Looking forward to next year when we can be in person. And just thank you again for your continued support. Nikki, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Dean Mays. So on behalf of Dean Mays, our team, and the entire School of Dentistry, thank you for attending and supporting our School of Dentistry. We look forward to seeing you on September 10th and 11th for Alumni Weekend. Thank you again so much for coming, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.